The lights were on, and Tan Songyun's name was displayed elegantly on the main screen. But no one was quite prepared for what happened when Soo Kai walked in. His steps were calm, almost too calm for someone who knew his every move was being watched. His black suit was simple, but his presence instantly transformed the atmosphere. It was as if the room took a breath and never quite exhaled. He hadn't chosen a random spot. A front row seat right in the middle. Right in the line of sight of the stage. Right where Tan Songyun's every word, every expression, and every emotion would fall directly on him. And when Tan Songyun finally appeared on stage, dressed in an elegant gown with the air of a woman who had built something from scratch, her eyes immediately found Soo Kai. It was only a split second, but enough to change everything. The speech began professionally, about design, about dreams, about the long journey of building Songyun Atelier. His words were structured, confident, like a CEO who knew the value of every sentence. But beneath it all, there was something else. Something unscripted. Soo Kai never took his eyes off the screen. For a full 15 minutes, he sat silently, but his eyes spoke louder than the entire sound system in the room. A gaze too focused, too gentle, too personal for mere professional colleagues. The audience began to notice. The cameras began to pick up. And the internet, as usual, wasn't long in reacting. Second by second, Soo Kai's expression began to change. First neutral, then warm, then fragile. In the 9th minute, as Tan Songyun spoke of failure, of sleepless nights, of the doubts that nearly made her give up, something happened. Soo Kai's eyes began to well up. Not dramatic, not exaggerated, but real. And precisely because of that, the moment exploded. The audience in the room may have only seen a glimpse, but the cameras captured it all. And within minutes of the event, the clip began circulating, analyzed, replayed, slowed down, and magnified. 8 billion social media impressions weren't just numbers. They were proof that the world saw something more than a product launch event. They saw a feeling. Tan Songyun on stage continued her speech. Professional, controlled. But if you look closely, you can see a subtle tremor in her voice, as if she, too, felt the weight of that unwavering gaze. It was as if every word she spoke wasn't just addressed to the audience, but to one person, Soo Kai. And at that point, the launch of Songyun Atelier was no longer about handbags. It became a much larger narrative about two people, two journeys, and something they'd never confirmed but never truly hidden either. Netizens began to dissect everything. The corners of their lips, the wink, the way Soo Kai looked down for a moment as if trying to hide his emotions, the way Tan Songyun took a deep breath before continuing her next sentence. Was this just a friend's support, or something deeper that had finally leaked out into the open? What made the moment even more powerful was its unintentionality. There was no script for the tears, no rehearsal for that look. It just happened, and perhaps that's what made it feel so real. When the speech ended, applause erupted, but the energy in the room had changed. People were no longer just talking about bag designs or business strategies. They were talking about Soo Kai. They were talking about Tan Songyun. And more than anything, they were talking about what might be between the two of them. Soo Kai finally stood up, joining in the applause, his expression calm again. Or at least trying to appear so. But the internet had already caught another side of him. A side he might not have even planned to show. And Tan Songyun? She smiled, bowed, and thanked him like a true professional. But to those paying close attention, that smile hid something more. An unfinished story. A relationship yet to be defined. And a single moment, in 15 short minutes, managed to transform a business event into one of the most emotional stories the public had seen this year. But the story didn't end when the stage lights dimmed. In fact, after the official event concluded, the atmosphere grew even more charged with whispers, speculation, and knowing glances from guests who felt like they had just witnessed something rare. Some industry insiders even admitted that they came for the brand launch, but left feeling like they had just watched an unscripted drama. Not because of the setting or the glamour, but because the emotions felt too real to be fabricated. Soo Kai, usually known for his restraint in public, seemed different that day. He didn't rush to leave. He lingered for a few seconds longer after the applause subsided, as if giving himself space to reorganize the feelings that had unintentionally surfaced. Meanwhile, Tan Songyun stepped off the stage with a graceful stride, but not as swift as usual. There was a slight pause in each step, as if she realized that the moment that had just occurred would continue to follow her, even after the event ended. When they were finally in the same space without the direct spotlight of the stage, many eyes were trying to see if there would be any interaction between them. Would they approach each other? Would there be a conversation that would explain everything? But what happened was much more subtle. A small nod from Soo Kai, a faint smile from Tan Songyun. There was no hug, no audible words, but precisely in that simplicity, many felt there was something far deeper than dramatic gestures. It was as if the two of them had already understood something that didn't need to be explained to anyone. And perhaps that's what made the public even more obsessed. Because humans are always drawn to things that aren't fully visible, to stories that don't have an ending, to feelings that can only be guessed at, not confirmed. Within hours, the names of Soo Kai and Tan Songyun dominated trending topics on various platforms. Not because of the scandal, not because of the major controversy, but because of one simple thing: the rawness of the emotions captured on camera. And amid all the analysis, theories, and endlessly replayed footage, one question remained. Was what the world saw that day the beginning of something, or just part of a long undercurrent of history? As the night progressed, footage emerged from previously unseen angles. There was a moment when Soo Kai took a deep breath before returning his gaze to the stage, as if he were trying to contain something bigger than a fleeting emotion. On the other hand, some observers noticed that Tan Songyun lost her train of thought for a split second, a rare occurrence for someone known for her professionalism. And it was precisely that small imperfection that made the whole thing feel all the more human. The narrative that developed expanded. Some believed it was a genuine show of support from someone who had witnessed the show's long journey up close. Others were convinced that their relationship was far more complex than the public had ever let on. But behind all the speculation, one thing is undeniable. The moment created a powerful emotional connection, not just between the two of them, but also with the millions of people watching on their respective screens. And perhaps, without them realizing it, amidst the often fabricated glitz and glamour of the entertainment world, it is precisely those unplanned silences, glances, and tears that become the most honest stories, ones that will continue to be talked about, even after the lights have gone out.